Well, I'm from New York City. My parents were immigrants from Europe. They both escaped before the Holocaust. Then they settled in Long Island. That's where I was born. Because my parents were afraid of anti-Semitism, they didn't want to send me to public school. So they sent me to yeshiva. So we weren't particularly a religious family. When I went to an Orthodox yeshiva, now all of a sudden we became religious. Shabbat every week, shul, learned Hebrew, Talmud, Jewish history, all of that. And, we pretended the best we could that we were a normal family. But there was a lot of conflict in my home between my mom and dad. They sat us down, my brother and I, told us they were getting a divorce. And I moved in with my dad. I got to do whatever I wanted, pretty much. So I graduated from Judaism. And I didn't feel really bad about it. It was just the prayers. It was the religious things that we did. So it really doesn't matter. And pretty much as soon as I got to college, I started smoking pot, started drinking beer. And the end of '69, I dropped out of college. Me and my girlfriend at the time and a couple other people, we hopped in this old station wagon that I had, and we drove out to Colorado, Boulder. Boulder, Colorado, back in those days, was a mecca for all the up-and-coming hippies, experimenting with drugs, LSD, mescaline. I decided that why should I pay retail? So I decided to see if I could actually get into dealing. That was my life for several years. I didn't mention that at that time, had gotten married. We had two children, a girl and a boy. They were quite little, had a business, actually a legitimate business in the real estate business in Colorado. So we had that, and then we had this other business, our pharmaceutical business. So kind of living a double life. While I was living in Estes Park, let's just say that I had a run-in with the police. So I'm going down to Boulder to deliver some drugs with a friend of mine who had set up the deal. And so we get down there to this house in Boulder, and we're waiting outside, and we're just waiting for our money so we can hit the road. All of a sudden, we're surrounded by agents of the Drug Enforcement Agency with their guns drawn, and we are now under arrest. Here I was facing federal charges of drug distribution, and in the court, the jury acquitted me. All charges dropped, believe it or not. There was not enough evidence to convict me, so you would probably think that I would have learned my lesson from that, but no. Because after that, we met an importer of cocaine from South America, and he said, "Hey, would you and your wife be interested in going into business?" We did that a couple of times, and then I thought, you know what? I think that's enough of that life. At the same time, my wife and I were having serious marital problems. It was not pleasant. And during the time is when I met Gloria. So a lot of times people will ask us because, they see us, we've been married for 35 years. Oh, how did you meet? So we met in a bar, and she was the other woman. Here I was, a Jew from New York, and she, a redneck from Mississippi. So we started partying together, getting high and so forth. And then my wife and I split up, and Gloria and I started going together. Yeah, so Gloria had a drinking problem, and she would drink, her behavior would change, and it wasn't good. So one night, we stayed in a bar after hours for a late night party. It was about 3 a.m. Gloria drove. I thought, I can't drive. I thought she was in better shape. So we're driving back on this mountain road, and we missed the curve and went over an embankment and went down the embankment, and the car went end over end about 3 times. We could have easily both been killed. Probably should have been. So that was like in retrospect, a real turning point for me. So we started getting involved with a group called Actualizations. One of the people that we met there recognized that we were partying a lot, we were drinking a lot, and so he did what we would now call an intervention. What I learned was I wasn't an addict, although I certainly abused it, and I abused drugs, but I didn't have that addictive personality, whereas Gloria did. Then they start talking to us about God. Part of the program is God as you understand him. So I remember meeting with the counselor, and I'm sitting there in her office, and she said, "So you don't believe in God at all?" "No, I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist." No. I said, "Okay, well, it's really important that you believe in something that's outside of yourself. You know, like even if it's a tree." And I thought, okay, I guess I could believe in a tree. So we make a commitment. No more drugs, no more alcohol. And we start on this path towards sobriety. So while I was believing in the tree, Gloria was going back to the church because that was her background as a Baptist. And she comes in the house one day. Guess what? I am a born-again Christian. I've given my life to Jesus. So what's running through my head is, what does this mean? Is this grounds for divorce? You know what? I'm Jewish. Jews don't believe in Jesus, so that's great for you, but don't bother me. Right about this time, somebody had given me a book about Isaiah 53. What's the big deal about Isaiah 53? So I turn and I look and I'm reading Isaiah 53, describing in detail about a person who suffered, who took upon himself the sins of the nation of Israel. And I'm going, there's only one person that fits this description. If any of this is true, Jesus has to be the Messiah. So at that point, I came to an intellectual decision, an intellectual understanding. Okay, he is the Messiah. If there is a Messiah, he is the one. At this point, I was starting to really struggle with my identity as being a Jew. What does that mean? And can I, as a Jew, believe in Jesus? That's clearly the guide of the Christians. A few months later, it was the high holidays. Was coming up, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. And I'm beginning to think, I need to reconnect with my Jewishness. So when I call around the synagogues for high holidays, you have to pay for tickets. And I really didn't want to do that. We were going through some financial challenges. But then I thought, what about that Messianic synagogue? So I called them up. You charge anything? No, we don't charge anything. Okay, great. So we decided to go. It was Gloria and I, and we took a friend of ours as well. We went down, went through the whole service. It was beautiful. The music was beautiful. At the end of the service, we leave, and we're driving home. I'm driving. Gloria's in the next seat, and she's talking to the friend that came with us. And I remember the exact spot that this happened. It's almost hard to describe. At that moment, I just surrendered. It all came together, and it went from my head of understanding intellectually, because that's how I had approached the question, is Jesus really the Messiah or not? I just said, God, I believe, not just up here, but I believe up here. And at that moment, I just felt this peace that I've never felt in my life before. It just came into my heart, filled me up. We dropped our friend off. I didn't say a word. I couldn't speak. We get home, and I said to Gloria, I did it. What? You did what? I received Yeshua. What? Where was I? You were in the next seat talking. But it was just being God at that moment. And I knew at that moment that my life was going to be changed forever.